Yo, what's up, folks? It's your boy Dennis T, and I'm getting ready to be joined by two of the most well-informed red men you will ever find in your life, and that would be Christopher Gill and Michael Awai. These gentlemen here. Are your pitchforks ready, guys? Are we getting ready to be all forked up? All right, let's go, fellas.
I'm ready
for this massive Labor Day.
Hey, yeah, folks, Trinidad and Tobago, the rest of the world, whoever's looking, watching, macroing, whoever.
Hold on, talking to the one of the people here. All right, welcome. Hey, I want to say good morning to everybody out there. Of course, third edition, we now getting in the groove, trying to set down our little the other kind of format, structure and everything, but as we go along, we're gonna get it, and from next week or the week after, when I get back, we'll definitely be upgrading. We'll be upgrading.
Right.
Happy belated birthday to the one and only, the original red man, Michael 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵𝗳𝗇.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thanks, Dave, for your greetings.
Yes, sir, guys, and of course, happy Father's Day to you both.
Yes,
and,
thank you.
And to me myself.
Well.
I would take that.
I don't know how many children we have all between us. It's
47, including all our mic outside children. Hey guys,
yeah,
today of course is Labor Day in Trinidad and Tobago, and you know, I want to reach out to all the people who are to be working from home today, even though it's a holiday. The irony, which includes, you know, sexy nerd tech support Renee herself.
right.
But let's get right into it now.
Let me get right
some
into
pitchforks whizzing.
Yeah. Let me first of all, I'm just going to briefly outline some of the headlines that are in the papers today. Some of them we will definitely have to talk about. The Guardian, the headline for The Guardian is more THA confusion. Opposition calls for probe into extortion claims. War of words between Shamfa and 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵𝗳. Political scientists say Chief 𝗣𝗶𝘁 is in hot water. I don't even know where to go with that, to be honest. And then we have UNC demands a police probe into THA extortion claims. Did we ever get that? Disaster waiting to happen. Residents discover more breaches in New Cut Channel. I think this is down in South, and they're talking about an area where there's rivers. That somebody cut.
Hold on a second there, Chris. Mike, left is right. left is right.
Left is right.
It's a weird thing. It's weird. I'm seeing that. Good. Chris, go back to what you were saying about what is some cut?
Disaster waiting to happen is there's a widening of a river that's threatening a particular area. I'll just briefly go through it.
Where's that?
Wreaked havoc in Woodland. This is down in South.
That's South, right.
That's somewhere between.
That's like Rosilac, but more west.
No,
east.
not Rosilac. This is more, so more after you pass Princestown and after you pass Tableland, it will be sort of between Tableland and Rio Claro, Woodland area.
Okay.
New Cut Channel yesterday, only they discovered they were much deeper than expected, creating parallel rivers within the lagoon. So they've had a flooding problem. Apparently, the people have, or somebody has cut channels from the lagoons, and of course the lagoon probably had excessive water that then filtered off into many of the residential areas. Right, so more than 500 acres of pasture were inundated. So that's 500 acres of pasture when the New Cut Channel broke its bank in 4 places. So what they're saying is this New Cut Channel has broken its bank, flooding homes, toppling gates, walls, fences, drowning animals, destroying crops, causing a stench throughout the community. So a disaster. And what they're saying is with more rains, this is possible that it will get worse. Again, who knows if this New Cut Channel was a government project.
I'm not going to ask who the government placed there. They
didn't say, but more than likely if it has an official name like New Cut Channel, I bet it's the government. It's only them as give official name to things.
It's three things. It's 3 reasons why people do these kinds of things. 1, irrigation, right? You want to irrigate a field somewhere, So you dig a channel and whatever, blah blah blah. The other thing is you're trying to dry out a marshland, right? It's a little more insidious, a little more long term, but we saw it happen. We saw it happen in the Caroni, all those former.
When they used to grow rice and thing.
Exactly, all them rice paddy, all the bamboo, all of them place was marshland.
When you're heading south after the Caroni River, all of that used to be marshland.
Marshland, yeah. You know, seasonally it would be dry enough to walk on, but it was never dry enough. It was never intended to be built on. And then finally, of course, it have just people who digging it up because they're trying to do their own little thing on the side. Now, for me, institutionally, I would like to see, if it is that it is a government initiative or a local government initiative, I want to see the EMA clearance. I want to see the EMA footsteps that led to this this action that allow people to make these things. Wetlands are very, very delicate ecosystems. You cannot just dry this thing out. It don't work so.
Well, we're not sure.
Politicians, you know.
Now we still stay with the pitchfork. We is the pitchfork. We are the tri-tip of the pitchfork. Right. Just the tip.
In sport news, West Indies clinch opening.
Wait. How you can start with West Indies? Really? Nicholas win how much gold and how much silver and Trinidad. No, that's the lead. Chris, you're getting fired, boy.
Nicholas Paul has won. He won 2 golds. We also had silver in the team sprint. We had silver from Alexi Costa in the Omnium, and then we had bronze. So I think might have possibly been the best medal haul at the Pan American Championships, which goes well. And then, of course, the big showdown in football, the Defense Force versus AC Port of Spain. Basically, it's a final between those 2 teams. I think that's going to be this Saturday coming for the top tier league title. AC Port of Spain needs a draw. Defense Force has to win. If they don't win, they will end up finishing second.
Bold prediction right here. I say Benny hat-trick wins it.
Michael, any words?
Michael, say no, like AC Port of Spain. That is not football. I do not want to comment on AC Port of Spain.
Wow.
As far as I'm concerned, that is slavery on the football field. You're using the players, you're using the clubs. That's my view. Okay? So once we do all the kankatang in the football, the national team is being supported by FIFA, not by the government, not by TTFA, by FIFA money. So the real football we're dealing with is only national football. Right. How could you play a 3-month league? We play a 3-month league, March, April, May, June, finish in July.
Yep.
Start back again in October or some foolishness like that.
When this league
where's the development of the kids? Akila Molan is doing a fantastic job in Londonville with 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds and so on. Where's the support? They're only playing football to satisfy black people. You know? That's all that's it for me.
Let them eat cake or let them sweat ball.
That's correct. That's right.
Just a second, Chris. When that story about that league came out, I was doing another show on Antigua Observer Radio. Every Friday morning I do a show. It's called Good Morning Jojo, by the way. You can check this same platform for that link. Friday we had Kim Collins on. But anyhow, what I was saying is back when we did that show, when that league was first announced, I did the math. And the math wasn't mathing, you know what I mean? The maths was way off. One of the things that I noticed was that the player side of it was very thin. You were talking about for a 3-month period. According to my math, it would have been $2,500 TT dollars per player. I mean, that's what was left. And this is an assumption based on if they were getting the TV for free, which I don't know. Somebody paying for it, but it didn't come out of that $2.5 million, I don't think. But the reality of it is very underfunded, unrealistically so, and it's really just to fill a gap. Like we say, eat a food. I'm saying somebody is trying to profit off of this thing. I think it is a genuine attempt by the TTFA Normalization Committee to get football restarted. Which football was in a mess for a long time. My position is that it is elected officials that got us into a place where we are $16 million in a hole, and it is the normalization committee that got us out of that hole. How far we may be on the rim of the hole, but we still have a very recent memory of the hole. But go ahead, Mike. Let me hear Mike on this.
Huh? You living in football Mars.
Yeah, probably.
It is not the normalization committee that got us out of this. It is FIFA. It is FIFA. FIFA runs the football in the country. The only pass instructions onto the normalization committee. We go to Nicaragua. We have a 2-week holiday. We have a 2-week camp in the US. Who paying for that? We go in Guadeloupe. We go down south on a trial game, a practice game against Nicaragua. Who paying for that? You think it's Jean-François Kojo? You think it's Robert Haddad?
No, but that's the thing. I mean, I know Robert Haddad. I don't know him personally. Hey, Robert, what's he saying? I've met him. We've spoken. I understand where he's coming from, and I will say this: he's a very competent businessman. So the fact that I disagree completely with the categorization that it is FIFA running the show. Obviously, it's FIFA running football everywhere in the Caribbean. All right, I say that categorically.
Particularly in Trinidad.
But here in Trinidad, I think that FIFA is running football the way it has been envisaged by Robert Haddad and his people. And I don't think that, I've heard all kinds of things. I heard that, he living off of the fat of the cow, and I'm like, listen, I don't think Robert Haddad really needs that money. I think what he's doing is he's taking his money and he's putting that money to work with people who you will not see on the lists and the names of this and that, and he is using his money to put them things together. I personally find the quality of the football is poor, piss poor, and I would not watch any of it.
So there we go. No,
but the guy's not Robert Haddad business. He don't coach a team. He don't do a push up.
Let me explain how this Chinese thing happens. The TTFA/Normalization Committee is responsible for national football. Under 13 national, 15 boys and girls, 17 senior, etc., etc. They are not responsible for other football. In this instance, the TTFA is running the Tier 1, but they have Tier 2. I think that the rest of them will get Tier up.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll get Tier up. Now, the teams have to go under Lecloy and company. The teams have to go and travel all over Trinidad and Tobago. They are not getting any assistance from the TTFA. They blank them. Okay, the Pro League is getting assistance. Why can't they help the Tier 2 league? Because they just want to play football. That's what is happening. I was looking at last night was it? A game in Mani-Ramjan. The biggest crowd I've seen is the players on the bench. Nobody in the stands. Nobody. Nobody in the stands. Right? And we feel like what football is. You see more people in the Republic Bank under 13, under 14. You see more people like that. What people are doing in this country is just organizing football for people just to play football. And nobody's developing. Pretty much just now, our players that represent Trinidad will be living abroad, will train and develop abroad and not in Trinidad. So all of these guys who are playing in the Pro League, Tier 1 and Tier 2, all that's going to happen is that when they have a local game and the foreigners are not available, they will play for Trinidad. After that, they will go, Anglesey and company will go to the foreigners, as is beginning to happen right now with the national team. Yeah. So we will see how that goes.
It going how it's going, and I mean, I don't disagree with you. We need more crowds in local football. We haven't been able to get that. We don't have a football industry. We don't have even a football thing. Let's move on. One of the things that, of course, it's Labor Day, but one of the topics that keeps coming up, there was a message from 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵𝗳𝗀. I want to say...
Who is that?
𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵𝗳𝗀 is the political leader of the movement for social justice. He considers himself irrelevant.
Yeah, okay. Let me send condolences on behalf of Pitchfork to David on the passing of his matriarch. So I think that is appropriate under these circumstances now.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel sorry for these guys because I think 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗁𝗀 people, his message and what he is, the space that he still occupies politically, or at least in his mind, is so irrelevant to many of the young people who are going to vote in the next election.
It's not irrelevant, since I disagree.
No, it's irrelevant to the people who are going to vote. I'm not saying it's irrelevant. I'm saying it's irrelevant.
So what Chris is basically saying is that them people ain't going to vote.
Yeah,
And I agree with that. But Mike, let me hear my counterpoint. What is it that...
Hold on.
Hold on. Mike disagreeing here. Let me hear what he's saying. Hold on, you go read what he said just now.
Mike, let me hear you disagree.
Listen to me. David Abdullah from since day one, Wade Mark from day 2, Roger from day 3. They are all talking the same talk. Okay? If you don't change anything, you'll not get different results. We are getting the same results every time. Okay? All they're looking for is 10%, 15%, plenty more holidays, plenty more leave, etc., etc., etc. A1 is in the picture today. A1, this is not Awai one, This is A1, artificial intelligence. AI. Call it A1.
Okay.
And it's not Awai's intelligence, it's artificial intelligence.
Right, okay? I hear you, brother.
Now, people all over the world are beginning to lose jobs. The jobs that we have created over the world, the IT jobs, the Twitter, the Facebook, etc., those are not jobs that increase the gross national product of countries and improve the economy of countries. And whilst we complain about a lot of people not having food and are starving, we are not planting. We are not growing anything. So it's a kind of oxymoron, you know what I mean? And so David and they fall into that category. He will hold press conferences on an issue. TH have a problem, a press conference. If they kill the people down in South, a crime, a problem. But people are not listening to that. We are doing the same thing over and over again and expect to get a different result. I don't understand why it is that we have to change. We in Pitchfork and other people like us have to send the message to people, you've got to change your approach to living in the country, otherwise you're in trouble. And we are in trouble. We are in not deep trouble yet, but we are in trouble.
No, we passed deep trouble, you know. We were like, hey, bye, deep trouble. We go on. We go catch up with all that later. We way past deep trouble, brother. Right now, let me say this, right? I've known David Abdullah since he was David X and all of these things, when he recently returned to Trinidad and he was part of that whole resurgence of the Black Muslim experience here in Trinidad, which has a long history, by the way. We're going way back to slavery days, right? One of the foremen of the project that built the Fort George in St. James was a Black Muslim, right? So that Black Muslim tradition has a long history here in Trinidad and Tobago. But more recently, we're talking about in the early 90s here, when he came back in and he was young and he was pressing this whole kind of Nation of Islam model of Black Islam here in Trinidad. I think a lot of that energy petered out over the course of the decades that have passed, have ensued. And I think that David Abdullah's politics today is far too compromised. It's too middle of the road. It is trying to please too many people. And the fact is, and what Mike just said, it is not getting anyone. You know, he was a fringe of so many different political movements. You know, he was there in that South Port of Spain area. You know, so many people would have been able to benefit from that South Port of Spain anger and passion and fuel, that raw energy of South Port of Spain. And where is he? You know what I mean? He started this kind of business thing, you know, Black for Black and all of that. But the fact is, I only part Black. I'm 13.75% Indian. I don't want to hear nobody talk about Black this and Indian that and Syrian that. I am all of these things. You understand? So what now? What allows us to talk about things like Black business when we know in fact that Black business here in Trinidad is not a thing? It is not because Black people can't run business. It is that the place is too connected. Black business in Port of Spain is very different from Black business in San Fernando. Black business in Central Trinidad is very different from Black business in Tobago. So we have this concept, and people like David Mohammed have been putting forward a concept of Blackness, of Black business and Black enterprise that is completely, if not But Chris, I didn't realize the bump off there, boy. I thought something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Something
not
happened.
irrelevant.
I can really heard David Mohammed.
Yeah, if it is not irrelevant, I think it's completely misguided and misapplied. That's just my opinion of David Mohammed. And sight unseen, I think that's South Port of Spain catchment area we're talking about. John, Sea Lots, Production Avenue, we're talking about the Beetham, we're talking all the way up to the hill, Laventil, Straker, and all these different places, Picton. We're talking about all of that. If you compare that to what is another part of that South Port of Spain electoral district, you're talking about all the way down to Arpita Avenue. If you talk about black business on Arpita Avenue and you include it in the same sentence as black business in Beetham or Sea Lots or South Port of Spain itself, come on, you've got to be crazy. It is way too nuanced and fractioned and it has too much subtleties that these big broad strokes have been ignored completely. Come on.
I would add to that. When Caroni was closed down, and that's what, 25 years ago, Michael, you would know, you would remember. There was the cry that maybe this would be the end of it, and so on and so on and so on. Now when you drive down, you leave and you drive down like through Charlieville or anywhere in South in Princestown or any of these other areas in South that are 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵𝗳, Penal, loads of businesses. Lots of people left being reliant on the sugar industry and have gone into different areas of commerce. And what Tay is saying is true. David Abdullah does not reach those people. None of those people think that when he speaks for them. They just don't. And they are important too. In fact, they're very important because if we look at it from a population census, the last one that was done, the figure, and I put that in inverted commas, is that 40% of our population is East Indian, and 40% is Afrocentric. And
I'll get back to that, Chris. When you make a point, I'll get back to that census thing. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I agree, that census is nonsense. But the reality of it is, if you're only speaking to a very small group, that in a manner that only an even smaller part of that same group can connect with, then you are only connecting with 10% of that 40%, which is exactly the amount of votes that the MSJ gets every year. 10% of about 40%, 4,000 votes. 10,000, how much votes is it? 10,000 votes, if that much.
Mike, you want to jump in on that?
So,
I mean, as a blackish businessman.
Slightly blackish.
I thought we were talking about David Abdullah. I saw you went to David Mohammed. But nevertheless, when Caroni closed down, all the Indians...
No, you're right. It's David Abdullah. Anyhow, he's even more irrelevant. But go ahead.
What has happened basically, they went into used cars, foreign used cars, foreign parts, and so on. And they build businesses everywhere, whether it's housing, whether it's roofing, whether it's
hardware.
What's that?
Small grocery all over the place.
Yeah.
Drive down and see.
They've closed down Petrochin, where people of African descent have had money. So the same way they closed down Caroni, what has quote unquote black people open businesses? Where have they opened businesses?
I don't know. Let me say I don't know.
Listen, I want to get back to the point about the census data. I've worked on 2 census, right? And back then, the instruction was, and the understanding was, people who have part Indian but grew up in an Indian social context are more readily and likely to identify as Indian on a census questionnaire than people who are like myself, who are mainly black, but you don't consider yourself African. You understand? We do not do that. So if you have a red man, sure we hear reddish and red line, right? You ever put on African in a census?
No.
I don't know.
No.
Exactly. But when you go in a room with Indian people, Douglas people. What you is? Use the African. So this idea of it's 35% and 40% Indian, that is just one of those anomalies that we need. Do we want a census with 20 different questions? Reddish, but kind of brown, vanilla brown, real red, but have data head, long curly hair. You want that?
In short, the answer to that question is yes. We need a census with 20 or 25 questions.
Because we have that, right? Listen.
Because we do have that. And what we need to do is that the anytime they're doing that type of thing where we're looking for data, we need to get proper data. We are operating on data that's nonsensical. That's another story. But
getting back to the other thing though, I was talking about David Mohammed and not David Abdullah. David Abdullah made a statement that he was saying that Trinidad and Tobago needs to get out of the power of the politicians. And I'm like, aren't you a politician, David?
Exactly.
What is it? Is it self-hate for politicians there? I don't know. And I didn't get that statement. I didn't understand. But what made it even more shocking to me is why would the mainstream media go and seek out opinions from David at this point? What is he going to contribute to the conversation? Clearly.
For the very reason they don't seek out conversation from you and Chris and I.
Too much. They don't want to get fucked. Guess what else is the money menu there, boy?
Oh god. And I'm looking for it. The one of the things that came up, and it came up about a week ago, give or take. It came up a week ago where the U.S. State Department talked about the fact that Trinidad and Tobago is still on a level 2 rating in terms of human trafficking. And that they made the point in the article or in their summarization of our assessment that a number of local law enforcement officials or personnel are engaged in corrupt activity in terms of taking bribes and engaging in unlawful activity rather to continue or to allow the continuance of activities such as human trafficking or other types of illegal activity. Again, I think this speaks directly to the composition of or the way we set up our police force and the administration of our police force, which at this time or other law enforcement agencies that at this time seems to not have who controls what is always a question. The Brent Thomas abduction brings that into question. That abduction happened in November, and you can't get a report as to who the players are, who signed off on the plane, or who gave authorization. None of these things seem to think it. And when any of the issues that occur, we can never get an explanation as to what happened. There was a shooting of a 1-year-old child. I don't know if you all remember that, about a year and a half ago. Where's the report on that? There was an alleged rape of Venezuelan migrants at the heliport in Chaguaramas, where there's no report on that. There doesn't seem to be an effective, comprehensive control or system of control of our law enforcement agencies, and I think that is our big issue. You all could chime in when all you want.
You talking about the police?
Yeah, because next thing they come looking for me. The police.
No. Hold on.
The police.
There was a time when you had tall, good bones, and strong teeth in the Johnny Police Service. And then it changed to 5 subjects, and then it changed to 3 subjects, and then it changed to no subject.
So we back
now, so much so that there's this old joke about a police fellow who left on Abercrombie Street and he couldn't spell Abercrombie. So he came on High Street and he charged him there. So he could spell There's also a report sometime ago when Manuel was alive that 64% of the police in Trinidad and Tobago are corrupt. Ooh. That was a number that they called. Now, when you have, I categorize people always at 3, 5, 7, and 9. 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. You have fellas who's 1 and 3 in the police service, and they move up to high rank, senior superintendent, BCP, ACP, MCP, whatever. Plenty talk, plenty this, plenty that, and plenty the other. But the guys in there are way ahead of the guys. They are way ahead of the police.
Yeah, criminals in the 7 and 9 category.
Right, unless until the public tries to help to support the police, they're in trouble. And then you have now the politicians are supporting the police and they're supporting the people. And a lot of lawlessness in this country. And so much lawlessness in the country. My beef is that the mayor allow parking in the city, no record. People parking anyhow, anywhere, wherever they want, and that's the end of that. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. When somebody get in a bad mood, they put 40 policemen on the foreshore and then they stop everybody. You don't have this, and then they come in the papers tomorrow. This is 69 ticket. They pick up 2 guns. They charge 14 people on warrant. So why they can't do that every day?
Yeah, my point. Your state department is issuing this proclamation, right? And they're stating unequivocally, because they cannot ever challenge these positions that they state, that police officers are performing these acts of human trafficking. Where are the charges? Where are the charges?
Well, they can't lay charges.
No, but where are the charges? They could give me the information and say, hey, is he Chris bringing 2 pumpek and you know, Mike had a capybara in the back of the yard. Let me see, hey, watch now. Let's hear this data and then say, hey, you know, we gave this information to all the corrupt heads in all the police and all the national security or whatever. And let me say that you don't think that's what is the right thing to do, Chris? They're doing it in other jurisdictions.
No,
they're
not.
bombing other people that they don't like in other jurisdictions.
Right. So let's get to they can't do that here.
Why they can't do that here?
Because we are not one of those jurisdictions.
Not yet. Which is why we're here in this show right now. And why it's so important that people get on this thing and get active.
But I'll say this. I think definitively, if the information was passed, what assurance do we have with the current head of the TTPS that anything will be done? The Commissioner of Police has not been able. She gave Fitzgerald Hines an oral report. You kidding me? An oral report. Fitzy, here we're going, boy. Well, it's this one who take the plane and it's that
No,
one.
you have to use the word nah boy.
Nah boy.
Yeah, boy. Nah boy, Fitz, boy.
And when Fitzy gone by PM to tell him the story, he say, well, you know, Ula tell me is I can't remember it's Michael or John, you know, but it's Awai. It's Awai who take the plane. You're kidding me. You know, this. So,
but Chris,
we have no confidence.
Where's the pushback?
And even the Police Complaints Authority, which is run by David West, in itself is hamstrung by the fact that all evidence they collect has to come from the police service. So the police service is going to hand them information, evidence to investigate the police service. Of course, that information, you could take that information if you so desire that investigation to go a certain way. I'm not saying that they do. I'm saying it is possible to do it. And therefore, we need a Department of Justice that is separate and apart from all of these agencies so that they can do their own thing. But we don't get that. We need somebody to investigate politicians. Who investigating politicians? The police force? The same people who appoint you? I mean, get real. That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. That's just not.
For me, the understanding that law enforcement is a complicated thing. And most of law enforcement is actually run on what people used to call informers, right? Long ago, that community relationship with the police was based on trust. That, hey, when I speak to these police officers, action is going to take place that is going to help the community get better. Now what we've seen is that the number one informers in the police, and anybody could come and contradict me, you could come and show me the data to prove me wrong, the number one informers of the police is the gangsters themselves.
Probably.
When the gangsters say, you know what, this is a little too hard for me to handle, 800 tips, whatever it is called, they are calling and they are selling out their people, and next thing you know is, you know, some little young fella in the ghetto dead while trying to shoot at police. Right? So we know what is happening here. We know that based on the business model that Mike just described there, which is basically stop traffic for about 10 hours and just see what you get. You know, it's like trawlers and whatever, buy, catch, you catch, you know, whatever, get them charged, get them ticket, get them whatever. And then 2-3 days later, you say, $6 million in ticket in 3 months in Trinidad and Tobago. That was actually a story, right? Where's this money going?
That was actually a story. Well,
right?
First of all, they might need
local government coming up. No much pothole it have on my road. You know how much water? I get water for 4 hours twice a week.
I don't have any potholes, and I have water every day.
That's because you vote and you're red.
No,
I not ready enough. I suffer the LeBron at best. I suffer the LeBron at best, and more because up when I take 2-3 sun.
All right, I'm gonna move on to another topic. I know some of these topics, folks.
Hey, we pass half an hour, Chris. Just checking the time. We're on 35 minutes, folks. Hey, listen. This thing here, this is Pitchfork Politics, right? We are not aligned to anybody. If you catch me voting, it's because, well, hey, I railed fed up.
I vote.
Use Chris's vote. I vote once in my life.
No, I vote every election.
Once in my life.
So then who are you complaining to about your potholes?
Yeah, exactly.
I have a scene coming up. I'm putting it together. Right now, I don't want to say I'm warring with the councillor because I'm not. We had 2 conversations, both times. And I will put that on a show because that had to be by itself. But so far, let me say, it's undecided. Let me just say that.
All right. THA Chief Secretary 𝗣𝗁 Augustine has assured that those who have stolen from the public purse will pay the consequences. In a pre-recorded statement at a public briefing on Friday, Augustine said, "Know this one thing, that I will see audit through, and those who did wrong will be brought to justice." Now, he was trying to, for want of a better word, comment on the tape that was leaked, where his voice was being heard saying that they could use public funds to hire people to basically spread propaganda or political propaganda as such in the interest of whatever ruling party there was in Tobago, right? And he went on to, the tirade is in, it sounded kind of Trumpish because it made no sense. He talked about we'll deal with the administrator. We talk about what was paid, how some company, a contractor who getting so much money trying to put him in trouble and trying to thing against him. He talking about who highlighting, he say how jook, who leaked the tape, all kind of nonsense come out. To say that, I want to say expressly that I am disappointed in the level of politics that Mr. Augustine 𝗣𝗁 has fallen to, and he has fallen right in with the rest of the crowd when he initially seemed to want to elevate himself out of that nonsense. I don't know, y'all could go ahead, make a comment.
It seems like 𝗣𝗁 put his foot on it. Oh wait, no. That's another one of those Tobago politicians who put their foot on it. How do we, as honest, law-abiding, rational, intelligent beings, accept 𝗣𝗁's reasoning? Not once does he say that the THA owing this person money. How could that be extortion? One. The second thing is, how could we accept that your excuse or your reason for this thing hitting the public is extortion, but you're not saying, hey, did anyone in my organization have such a meeting, and were these statements in fact made in a meeting where I was present? If you cannot answer those questions, and it's unrealistic in today's politics in Trinidad and Tobago, that any political leader will ever answer a straight question straight. So it means that we as the voting public have to make our own interpretations, our own inferences. And it is my opinion, based on what I have observed in the published media, that this explanation is inadequate to the task. How could anybody come and say that statement, that tape, right? Forget whether it is factual or not, it is extortion? How can I extort somebody? If I have screenshots of something and it's not you, shout out Arnold, I see Arnold Friday night. If it's not you, then all you have to say, wasn't me. You understand? What are you talking about extortion? If I say, hey Mike, I have pictures of you in a compromising position, I go and send it to the newsday tomorrow. Mike wants the pictures, but I look like Chris. That's the That's not my foot. That's all you have to say. You understand? But you can't. You're talking about that's extortion. How does extortion work? I can't extort somebody with something that is unrecognizably.
Yeah.
That ain't you. That's irrelevant. Then therefore it's not extortion.
Before we get into our last
You know what I find interesting about all of this? All of this dotations in Tobago, which as 𝗣𝗯𝗯 like to say, the Tobago government. I don't know who that is. But as opposed to the Trinidad government. But
Tobago government. Yeah.
you know, the Express and the Guardian are swamping money. You can't get a newspaper to buy. Because people like Bacchanal. I mean, I went to Massey stores, I went to the gas station, not a paper inside. Because they have the pictures of 𝗣𝗯𝗯 on the front page, everybody in three-piece suit and Easter bunny hat and all of these kind of things. And that's what they're doing. Okay? What is happening is that the politicians are running the country. The politicians are not putting in policy. The institutions are not running the country. The institutions. The institutions of the presidency, of the DPP, of the this one. The political leader of the opposition party want to tell the government and tell the police who to lock up. Okay? Somebody want to tell who to have approved. Right. Somebody want to ask a question that. It are email gates, plant-like substances, this one with Gary, that one with Short Young. That's what we thrive on. That's all we and then social media take it up and run with it and so on and so on. And then the Bacchanal with the HSF. Oh, we lose $7 billion. We lose this, we lose that. And they don't understand finance. The central bank is putting on financial lectures and so on. Nobody's interested in that. But we lose $7 billion. And you ask them how come? It's the same story with foreign exchange. How do you get foreign exchange? Go in the bank. Whether the bank gets it, I don't know. You know, I mean, come on. So I don't want to discuss 𝗣𝗯𝗯 and the THA. All you can fix up. Go ahead. I'm not commercial.
All right. We're going into the HSF fund. And so this, folks, we're going into what we call the breakdown. So, and I'm going to give you simple facts. I will lay out the facts first. And then we can
careful, Chris, careful. There are no alternative facts. Be careful.
Yes, no alternative facts here, just facts. Right? So, and I'll go as far back as the HS fund, which is the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. I can't remember what year it was formed, so don't hold me to that. We just go in with at the year. So the net asset value of it in 2007 would have been, based on what I'm seeing here, close to 1,766,200,000. Right, and I'm not going to call out all the figures.
So Chris, just a quick point, Chris. This data is from the published summaries by the central bank. This is not anybody making this up. This is this, and we could post the link, and those links to those PDF files will be available in these show notes. You can form your own opinions, but this, what Chris talking here, is just the facts.
So I'm going to give you where the things go, right? So we had accumulated surplus, unrealized capital gain losses, and of course, but the contributions in 2007 was $321 million. Again, this is US dollars we are talking about. We are not talking about Trinidad and Tobago dollars. It's all in US dollars. In 2008, it was $1 billion US dollars was contributed. In 2009, there was none. In 2010, it was $477 million US dollars. In 2011, it was $451 million US dollars. In 2012, it was $207 million US dollars. In 2013, it was $42 million US dollars. Right now, all this time, the net asset value of the fund has been increasing. So by the time we get to 2013, it has gone from $1,776,000,000 to now, in 2014, $5.5 billion. So, right? And you can see how, if you look, you obviously can see how the contributions and the gains and losses accumulate to that.
Just now, Chris. So from 2007 to the 7-year period, 2007 to 2014, it went from 1 billion to 5 billion.
1.7 billion,
right?
5.5 billion. So
it is very important that listeners and viewers understand this is a 7-year period. Let's move on, Chris. Right, go ahead.
Good. In 2014 and 2015, there were no contributions to the fund based on what we saw, but there were surpluses, and of course, there's what they call a comprehensive income. So a little bit of money was added over the course of that, right? And in essence, we added another 100 million. By the time we got to 2015, we added basically another 100 million, right? So between 2013 and 2015, even though there was no contribution in 2014 or 2015, the fund went from 5.1 billion to 5.6 billion. So they added money based on, and again,
so the fund performed.
The fund performed, and what
right?
happens?
So the paying part of it will be gas and oil royalties, etc., etc.
Exactly.
That's why it's the excess. It's like a windfall. You know what I mean? So like you're all from down in the west, before you have 10 mango tree in the yard, but you only pick one bag of mango to give me. All the rest of the mangoes in the yard rotten. But I would get one bag of mango. So that bag of mango that you would put into the fund while the rest of it scatter all around the ground, that is what we're talking about. The windfall that you're actually putting back into the fund. Good. Now, moving it on.
One of the things I want to make clear to all everybody's listening, funds like this and many of the big mutual funds, unit trust corporation, banks do it, everybody does it, is insurance companies are particularly good at doing it. They take money like this and they invest in different portfolios. It might be stocks, businesses, different things, property. You put the money into bonds. In the case of a government thing, you put it into bonds and different things like that. Mm-hmm. And you are expected that over a period of time, this will gain you more. You know, if you invested 100, you're looking to get back a 3-year period, maybe 110. I just given an example.
And the way the fund, the HSF, is constituted, meaning the values are statutory, meaning that you can't just pick and say, well, I'm going to buy Bitcoin today, or you know what, I'm going to buy the 10,000 cell phones to go and sell as a blue, whatever. You can't do that. The fund is statute barred as to what qualities, quantities of investment tools can be invested in, can be purchased. And that fund, that is also in the summary. You can also check that out. Go ahead, Chris.
Good. Now we get to 2016, and this would have been the first year of PNM government. It is the first withdrawal. $375 million was withdrawn from the fund. The second year, 2017, $252 million would have been withdrawn from the fund. 2018, there was no withdrawal. 2019, there was no withdrawal. Now, COVID would have started approximately
Let's say March 2020.
March 2020. As of 2020, $979 million was withdrawn in 2020. And in 2021, $892 million was withdrawn. In just adding those two up together, it's close to 1.8 billion, maybe 1.9 billion dollars in total. In those 2 years, would have been withdrawn. This is US dollars, right? And so again, I give you the information.
In the 7-year period that this current government has been in charge and overseeing this fund, it's my estimate that there has been a withdrawal of over 2.5 billion Biden doubloons, not 𝗍𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵𝗳 pesos. Because like all you don't understand, dollars is not dollars. My Trinidad and Tobago dollars is not dollars. It is part of a dollar. What we're talking about here is US dollars. This is a US dollar denominated account. People need to realize, listen, nobody pointing a finger at 𝗍𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵𝗳. Nobody's pointing a finger at doctor. What we are saying is this. No, I don't know how it went. But I am saying this. We need real explanation. We don't need the glib. We don't need the politics. We don't need the handoff to the no look to the alley-oop dunk. We don't need that. We need to hear, hey, Ewart Williams is the chairman of the fund. We need to hear Ewart Williams come out and say, well, this is what we do with all your money, boy. This is not my money. This is all your money. This is what we do with it. And this is how we've been managing it. And this is what they did when they made these withdrawals. And this is what. Right? Until we can get that proper summary of that fund activity, what more can we do? We have to speculate. right? Look at
Well,
the two dips, Chris.
take-
Just 1 hour, Mike. 2 seconds, Mike. Chris, look at the two dips. Look at the two biggest dips
Right.
in the fund, and look at the two biggest blips, the two biggest bumps in the fund. And those things coincide with one, the dips coincide with major global falling outs, right? We're talking about 2008 would have been the crisis in banking and housing in the US. That crash, that was a global economic crash, right? In 2010 and that period there going forward, you're talking about a resurgent oil price. You're talk about, so those things have global implications, affect us, right? But nobody is talking about this. Why? Because they are bought and paid for straight up. I've worked in all three newsrooms and I'm saying this. You need to watch shows like this to understand what is going on.
Yeah. We not holding back. Michael, comments.
Jump in, Mike.
Question. Did anybody steal the money? The question
We
is
don't
no.
know. We don't
The
know. We
question
don't
is
know.
no. You can't steal our money. Okay? There's a
Can it be
difference
wasted?
between actual, hold on. If you, this has happened in unit trust, you know. Nobody complained. There's a fund that they had called Calypso Fund. You buy $20 and the fund became 17. I don't know if you're familiar with that. There's a nominal value of the fund and the actual value of the fund. Now, if you put money in there and the interest went up, let's say 25%, so it's now 125. But then something has happened and the interest value at that point in time went down to 15, so it's now valued at 1.15. It is the nominal value of the fund. Nobody has stolen any money. We are not withdrawing the HSF fund, but people have to understand the finance and understand how it works. So those foolish comments by politicians who they ask of the elbow is where the problem is. Ewan Williams only explained that it is the nominal value of the fund that has dropped. That's what it is because of the investment portfolio.
No, my brother. No, my brother. They dig out pieces, bro.
So therefore, then what you are saying is somebody stole the money.
No, we're not saying that either.
That's
No.
different. That's different.
What are you saying?
I am saying, and we are saying,
Chris go say what he's saying first, and then I go say what I'm saying first.
$979 million US was withdrawn from the fund. The fund still has a value, and that value now in 2021 is equal to the value it had in 2014, right? And then this year, another $892 million US was withdrawn from the fund. So these withdrawals, somebody going into the fund, taking money out of the fund, not that the fund is they be stealing the money, we can't accuse people of that. But as Tay will elaborate on, I think what was done by this government was that money was used to basically fund our recurring expenses. Tay.
Exactly, which is where I'm coming from. No, I'm not an economist, and anybody could come in and jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. But understanding something, if we're talking about taking out $2.25 billion US from a fund, right, to prop up an economy. Think about it like this. Let's make it on an individual basis. Dennis Tay working for 20 years, right? And I've been putting money into my savings. I have my day-to-day savings, but I have my long-term savings. Let me say I'm saving to buy a house, or saving, let's saving to hand over to my children, whatever the case may be, right? I'm saving. But then late in my economic life, I've realized, wait a minute, money coming in, but it's less. Inflation. The value of what I can buy with my money that I get in my pay, which is the economy, the GDP, it is not getting what I used to get. So now I start to say, well, all right, just to get by, I had to go price smart, or I had to go make a groceries, or whatever. I had to take something out of my fund, but my savings dry. That's my day-to-day. That's the consolidated fund. That's the budget. That's what we're selling every year, right? That ain't making sense. That ain't working no more. So I had to look and say, hey, Renee Gill, we're going to digging into Liam's college fund. But Liam is 5, dude. How you can dig out the college fund? You pull out that. We are pulling money from our heritage. The word, it's in the word heritage fund to pay for what? recurring expenditure. It's like if you say, you know what, I am going to take from my children's college fund to buy gas to go to work. That's what you're saying. To buy gas to fix or to buy parts to fix back an old car. The economy is basically not functioning. We are relying on gas and oil. Where's the oil? Where's the gas? Right? We are relying on exporting products that are 10% of the value on the global market because we've been strapped down into contracts with people who never liked us in the first place and then like we now. We are being taken advantage. The economy is being propped up to a point where it is irrelevant now. We need to diversify this economy. How much of that $2.5 billion was directed at efforts to diversify our economy away from oil and gas?
How much of our budget is recurrent expenditure take? What percentage?
A very large amount. Large. Every industry, every ministry, you see it is salaries, and more salaries. You see it, maintenance. You're seeing it, right? I don't have the data here and the way all this phone thing set up, but we could put that data in there because we could put these things. These things have been published. The budget for every year is published. The actual spending is published and it is changed.
Has the HSF been reduced or the money has been lost? Which one?
Mike,
that's a good question. That's a good question. The
value of the fund is tied to certain things. The U.S. Treasuries, short-term, long-term. In my opinion, if you look back at what is happening in this last fiscal year, you would have seen several bank crashes. I would like to know exactly where those short and long-term U.S. Treasuries are held and what types of treasuries are they, and are they those volatile types of treasury and other types of instruments that have caused or have led to the banking crisis in the U.S. We've seen 4 banks crash this year alone.
Talk to the financial ombudsman and you'll get your reply in 18 months. What's next? Next item.
No, you know, that's it.
But we're bright enough to figure this out. Listen, all 1.4 million people living in Trinidad, not bright enough, you know. But you see this 3 semi-red men here? We're bright enough to figure this out. Show us the data. We could dig in and dig through and pass that data, and we could break it down the way I just broke it down. And if you don't believe that, I will send you the link to come on the next show, and we will do a show tomorrow just to come, so you could come and tell we, because you know what? We are all learning organisms. We want to know what your opinion is and fix it. Fix ours. Tell us the truth.
I feel I could look at a set of figures and probably know more than Club. I sure.
I reached today. But I would say this. Mike, you're a businessman. Chris, you're a businessman. But you are also, Chris mainly like 90% towards having EMBA and everything. So what I'm saying is this, right? I just went science. That's as bright as I ever get. And that's all I ever needed in my life, a science education. Trust me. Good. Understand where I'm coming from here, fellas. People watching this show. The data is there. The opinions of what that data
tells
is saying is mine, is Chris, is Mike, is whoever else you're watching there. But the data is there. And we will put the links here for you to figure it out on your own. But if you can't figure it out on your own, who do you trust?
Call us, we'll tell you.
Who do you trust to analyze that data? Who do you say, hey, you know what? They're not making no sense. Let me go and talk to somebody else who making more sense. You might find somebody who, you know, fractionally or just incrementally more good looking than the 3 of us. But are the points that they're making, they're hemming and they're hawing? No. I stand by the analysis that we've put forward here today, and I'm stating without fear of contradiction, if you, anybody out there, want to come and debate us on where this money in the HSF went, I will send you the link. We'll do a live tomorrow. We'll do a live now and jump right in. Because I'm saying this is a problem. Nobody is discussing. It become politics. And remember what we said, politics is not democracy.
It isn't. And one of the issues that this brings up is we need to ask the questions. We are not asking the questions. In the meantime, what you have is talking about a whole set of nonsense about who thing and the tape, and we want to investigate, and the Labour and Kamala talking about we should fire, or how the government should, not the Labour leader should retrench Rowley, and all this kind of nonsense talk that makes no improvement in the lives of daily lives of people.
But if unfortunately, Chris, it sells the newspaper and it gets
does.
a lot of clicks
Not
on
selling
Facebook.
much. Not selling much. I'm telling you, like I said, I worked at all three newspaper and they're not selling much. Right? So this selling newspaper theory that we have, it don't work anymore. It's not selling. You know what? New media, let me talk about Tucker Carlson. Yes, there's our going, but let me talk about Tucker Carlson for 5 minutes. Tucker Carlson has done 4 episodes of his opinion, right? On Twitter Live. No ads, no support, nobody financing this thing. And he has, in the space of 4 10 to 12 minute shows, he has accumulated over 200 million views. Shares, we're talking about over 100 million shares. Millions shares. You understand? Now, Tucker is one of those divisive figures. You could decide whichever one you want. You like him, you don't like him. I blocked him. Right? When he was on Fox, I blocked him on YouTube. But I watched all 4 of those episodes of what he's saying. And let me tell you this Tucker version, this version of Tucker Carlson, digging them out to the fork. We should name our walk. Let me tell you, right? We are changing the realities, the paradigms of where media is consumed, how it is done. We are sitting down, Chris, Mike, them on a laptop, I on my S10, right? We are showing you what we can do with the power that we have now. What are you going to do? Are you going to share this with your friend? Are you going to say, hey, boy, we just listen to these red men, boy, them fellas and them talking real sense, but then you keep it to yourself? No, you got to spread this word around. We have to destroy, not the politics, not the political structure, not the Red House, We have to destroy the mama guy. You telling me you don't know who voices that you hear on a tape? I had to send police to tell you that is XYZ, and that is the same people who get to vote. You don't know their voice. That means they didn't come by you in how much of a years they was in that THA. You forget, say you're unfamiliar because you forget what they sound like. But don't mama guy me and tell me the police had to tell you who voices that.
Let's talk about PEP and the farmers with UNC. Talk to me, Chris.
The farmers with UNC?
And PEP.
You mean the farmers with PEP? I like the idea.
We talking about, let's make sure, because I got name wrong just now there. Philip Edward Alexander.
Philip.
All right, let's go.
Better known as P. I'm telling you now, when he get hold of this, he going on cry and criticize all of we.
Wonderful. I love that. Good.
I love that too, because I'll say this to Philip Edward Alexander. He is a fantastic political activist. He will never be a political leader. Philip, I'm sorry, that's just how it's going to unfold for you. At no time will anybody invest in you as a leader, political leader in this country. Take that however you want it. If you think it's personal, if it's not personal, it's not. It's not that I disagree with what you do. I think you do. I think as a political activist, going out there and searching for things that are wrong in our society, highlighting these wrongs and putting them in the spotlight, I think you do a fantastic job. I'll say that again. When it comes to you being a political leader and leading the change that is necessary, that the general public does not see you as that, and in the end, you will not get the votes required. Sorry to say. Similarly to the other one that we talked about, Michael, what's his name? David Abdullah. I think David Abdullah highlights a number of political issues. He's a good political activist. I think he has made contributions that and highlighted things that people in this country should take note of. We should absorb and question and lead us to ask questions. But at no time will David Abdullah get enough votes to ever be a political leader in this country, and I don't think people see him as that. So,
and why do you think that is so, Chris? Why do you think that is so?
There are a couple of reasons, and I'll say this. One, our political populace, our voting populace, lacks a level of political maturity and understanding as to what important political matters. We talked about the Heritage and Stabilization Fund today. We talked about things about the U.S. State Department today. We talked about 𝗣𝗯𝗰 and the tape and the manner of and stuff. But you know what? And we started our first show where we talked about Keith Rowley talked about the education system, where I quoted many aspects of his speech from that his breakfast at Hilton with what we refer to as a hoi polloi. But that same Keith Rowley will never go to a political meeting in Southeast Port of Spain and say what he said on that stage. What he will go in a political meeting in Southeast Port of Spain or up in Laventille Hill or down in 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵𝗳 down by Carnage thing to talk about is Kamla and the thing and they thief all the money from the airport, don't vote for them. And then he'll bring post-it Fitzgerald Hines to throw in some comments how Gary was the worst commissioner, and then who else will come up and talk a pile of nonsense. Nothing will be relevant to the day-to-day activities. Nothing will be relevant to the life of the citizens.
I have one question. Local government reform, do you believe that will take care of the services that are required throughout the country, section by section, in terms of constituency, or in terms of the wards that we have in the country, 8 of them? 8 wards.
The remarkable thing is that we're now looking at renaming regional corporations back to boroughs, right? When was the last time we had boroughs in Trinidad? You understand? The borough of Arima is a royal charter borough, right? And I believe it is one of few of such in the Caribbean. So I get Arima being a borough, all right? Point 14, why is 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗰𝗵𝗳 a borough? And what does it improve? And what does it improve? We are living in Box Trinidad, right? You're talking about the importance and relevance of local government. What does local government do? Right now, the two big things is box drains and sanitation. It is like New York. You ever watch Goodfellas? You ever watch The Sopranos? It is that. Listen, a lot of the problems with political change in Trinidad is that we are talking about processes that are going to affect the people in these at-risk communities who are the economic drivers of those communities. The bad man on the block, the gunman, the so-called community leader, the man selling drugs, the people who running 15 𝗣𝗠𝗃 PH car. These are the people who are propping up the economy. Yes, it's a great economy, but when you start to talk about we only want taxi and we only want this, we don't want PH. Who throw your bus in? You think they're going to vote for you? Of course not. When you start to talk about reformatting a business system, because local government is business. When you start reforming a business system that is talking about addressing concerns on a house by house, corner by corner, street by street, block by block basis, right? And the people who are building these projects, building this infrastructure, are the people in that community or in that district or in that section of your economy. And you are telling them we want to reform. They are going to be reformed. How, boy? What you saying, boy? Think of something. Mike, Chris, all from Digo, right? In the 60s and to the 70s, Diamond Vale houses, it was 800 Trinidad and Tobago dollars for the down payment, and a 2 or 3 bedroom house in Diamond Vale would cost $7,500 to $7,900. Pay full. Today, those homes are valued at $2 million, $3 million, easy. So we're talking about, you want to really invest in Trinidad and Tobago, you want to invest in our economy, you want to create all of this mystery money that land assets will always materialize in the banking sector, because land is just dirt, But when you value it and you make a mortgage, it becomes cash. So that is where that mystery money that Mike always talking about, where does the US come from? The bank. Where does the money come from? The bank, right? But think about it like this, Mike. If you had $800 now, what house you could buy? If you had $10,000 now,
Also,
Okay,
You can't even buy a wall for a house. You can't even buy a pallet of bricks to build a wall for a house. What we talking about?
You could be that CKD house boy. Anila Masi CKD house boy.
You understand what we're talking about? Right? And in that same period of time, into the 60s, into the 70s in Trinidad and Tobago, we're talking about Diego Martin, Diamond Vale. We're talking about in Mova. We're talking about Coconut Drive. We're talking about La Hoqueta. We're talking about Maloney. We're talking about that housing thing down in Couva. We're talking about where else to talk about Chris Boy. Down in San Fernando. We had those. What's the name of that place? Only from down south there, Chris. I can't remember.
In
Back, right? So we're talking about levels and levels and levels. Now in today's market, we're seeing places like Current Village. We're seeing places like up in Valencia, Malone, Malabar was one of those housing developments too, right? So yes, but look at drive around in those places. Drive around in Malabar. Drive around any places in Maloney where people are not killing each other for dotishness. Drive around and you will see families investing in generational wealth. You're talking about most of the houses you drive past have a little shop selling something. Somebody's daughter making some kind of crochet clothes and selling something. Somebody's a makeup artist. Somebody's a barber. Somebody's doing some kind of business out of their house. We're talking about real economic activity. Right? So you're asking me, Mike, earlier on in the show, where did this $1 billion withdrawal go? It did not go into those things. It did not. It went into buying
salaries and wages.
It went into salaries and wages for people who don't want to come out and work. I'm being real here. Tutor, get real. You're killing sports in this country because why? You want to shut off at 2:30. My child finishing work. My child finishing school at 2:30, and let me tell you straight up, his teacher is one of the genuine gems in Trinidad because she in school and making sure them boys have reading class. She going over work with them. It's not no free. It's not pay lessons we're talking about, you know, right? You understand? And then when you go into going to train and you're seeing teachers, you're seeing people come in and they're bringing their kids because they believe that this sport can change their life, transformative change, permanent change.
Yes. All right, 112. We had 112.
Let me get them 3 more minutes and we call it a day. What's the Wattax? What's the Pitchfork? What's the jab?
The Pitchfork. The last Pitchfork I hear was how I'm all say to tell Mark to leave wife out it. Oh, you know, these are the kind of exchanges they have in Parliament. Leave my wife out it, right?
It's a show. It's a
his wife apparently, you know, is part of a project that might have been part of the group that did part of the as you're talking about the local government reform and some of that thing. Why do we, if she's a government official or was used by the government in an official capacity, why her name can't be called? I just don't understand. But again,
more smoke and more mirrors, boy.
More smoke and more mirrors. I just want to say again, people, we here at Pitchfork Politics want to get underneath all that nonsense. We talked about the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. I want people to do what Dennis has said. Go look for the facts, dig them up, see for yourself, and then start to ask questions. Even if you don't believe us, ask people who you trust might give you the right information. Talk to economists, and don't listen to the bacchanal and nonsense, what the figures say, because data does not lie. Data does not lie. Politicians lie. I might lie now and again to my girl and them, but data don't lie, right?
That's the tip. Mike, what's your tip? What's your fork for the day, boy?
I would like to remind Tobago government. Tobago government. That they don't pay themselves. The money comes from the Ministry of Finance via Mr. Colm Imworth. So you can continue with the dotishness, don't mind the business, and they will get no money. And let me see what Tobago will happen to Tobago. Bye-bye.
My last jab, right, is this. Tobago, we love you. You are part of us, right? If you talk about people, if you pull off a leg, you can't stand up, you know. It might just be a leg. If you pull off a hand, you know, Tobago, you are a beautiful part of us and you're a valued part of us, Trinidad and Tobago, right? Like a partner say, all in a Caribbean with Saint this and Saint that, we are the only Trinity. We are a chakra of the earth. We need you to be a better us. Let us do that, right? Trinidad is 26 miles from Tobago. It's only 7 miles from Venezuela. Do you hear us wanting to embrace the payol and say, pada? No, we're saying, hey, yo, Trinidad and Tobago, that's the thing, and let me move forward with that thing. That's it. Folks, remember, share, love, like, comment, dig out we eye, dig we in the back. This Pitchfork Politics is every week. We're coming back this week. Thursdays again on Lanyap. Sorry for those who were waiting for the show both Thursday and Friday. We had 2 false starts, but we're back. All right, so guys, thanks for doing the show. And yeah, share the thing.
See y'all next week or later this
week.
week.
Thursday. We do it, man.
So later this week.
Bye, folks. Take care.
Bye-bye.